So most of our kids who play probably ultimately 25% or more less than what they did before they joined the NASEF club because they're involved in the club dynamic. They're building
Yes.
the website. They're building the graphic design. They're selling the merchandise. They're building the logos. They're engaging in competition around all of those things. And I have the unique privilege and honor to be the pre-session introduction for a wonderful global conference. This topic is going to be a little unique in how we present the concept of esports. For most people, it's about gaming, but not for us. It's really about what do you do with it? How can you learn from it? What's the nexus between education and gaming in esports? And that's what NASEF is all about, and that's what we're going to be talking about. So a little bit about me, because it's relevant for context in how we got here, is I spent the last 13 years in a wonderful position as the Global Director of Philanthropy for the Samueli Foundation in California. And during that time, on behalf of the Samuelis, we devoted a lot of resources into youth development, youth organization, and STEM and STEAM education. And while we were doing great work, near the end, about 10 years into my tenure before I left to do this, we came to the realization that as much as we were doing great work, we weren't reaching the real disenfranchised, the disengaged, real kids of color, the LGBTQ community at the level that we wanted to. And in looking and researching, trying to figure out where we were going to go and how we were going to do this, I stumbled across this thing called esports. And 4 miles down the road was the University of California, Irvine, and their prolific esports program. And I came back to the Samuelis and I said, I think esports is the proverbial Trojan horse for kids, especially those that don't know where they're going, what they want to do, aren't the star athletes, aren't the grade A students. But when you look at the data, and you will see from this, what we've done is we've tried to reach kids where they are and find a way to engage them for their future. And it's really at a core value kind of foundation of how we think, how I think, and what we do. And I think most people would agree with what this slide represents. And that is our responsibility as educators, parents, colleagues, and the like when it comes to our youth is to help them find their purpose. What's the reason for being? What's their purpose in life? So at the core of what our NASEF philosophy is just that. How do we help kids identify what they love to do, their passion, their interest, what the communities need, and how to combine it with what the opportunity is for them to earn a living? Because as we all say, if you can enjoy what you do, it's not work. And that's really what we want to try to find, how to be able to do that. So there's a philosophy in South Asia called the Ikigai. And Ikigai is just that. How do you find the Venn diagram, that nexus between everything to help a child really flourish and grow in who they are and what they do? All of this started, as I alluded to earlier, as a result of our work in STEM education. With the foundation, we funded and supported and developed what we call the STEM ecosystem model. We actually funded over 90 communities around the world over a period of 6+ years. And in that, we looked at how to help kids acquire the characteristics and skills and attributes they need in STEM and STEAM, how to infuse the quality of learning in the systems to teach that, and how to create workforce opportunities and skills so that there's a pipeline there for the student. It was on top of this framework and foundation that we built out what NASEF is today. And why did we select esports? It's really very simple. Look at the numbers. Look at how many kids play at least 1 hour a day in some type of esports or online or gaming type of activity. That's where kids are. And if you really want to make a difference, you've got to go to where they are, speak their language, and reach them in a way that makes sense to them. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about what does it actually look like? What does NASEF Scholastic Esports look like that's different than typical esports? This is one of the projects I'll talk about after I show you the video. Now, from my perspective, I think that's pretty cool. It's basically using Minecraft where kids can compete and play and enjoy what they do and learn at the same time. We partnered with the U.S. State Department. We built a world in Minecraft called FarmCraft where kids had to grow crops, buy seeds, code it in the background, compete as teams. They had to harvest. They had to deal with bug infestations. And then they had to sell in a marketplace. What a great opportunity for kids to learn through competition and through play. As a result of this is part of our global expansion. We were in over 40 countries in over 2,000 schools this past spring, bringing this opportunity to kids, and it's all free. Everything that you'll hear and everything that we provide is free to students, is free to schools, and free to after-school programs. So let's take a minute also and talk about and see what it's like for a student, especially for those of you who are students on this. Take a look and listen to what this is like for an individual and how thrilled and excited it is to have a NASEF club in his school.
Hi, my name is Eddie, and I am from MLEC, my Malaysia Educational Center, and I am the president of the Esports Club. My teacher got word that there was going to be an Esports Club, and they told me, want to do it? He was like, yeah, for sure. He jumped on, and when he told us about the Esports Club, what we started to do very quickly, we got onto NASEF.com. You guys have a list of all the colleges that are in the program. So we have a big wall with all the flags of the colleges. So when the kids come and we talk to the parents, we can not only tell them how it's going to help them in school and how it's not like traditional sports, but we can also show them these are the scholarships. These are the real world opportunities that your son or daughter will be getting if they join our club. I became president, and since then, we've taken care of managing the club. So setting up tournaments in our school, making sure all the kids are enrolled. I go in personally every night and check to see if anybody's finished the paperwork. And whoever hasn't, I email them or like during club, I'm like, hey, you know, what's going on? I need you to register because the shirt's coming soon and I don't want you to miss out. So we just try to stay up to date with everything. We're mostly the management. We don't play in tournaments that much. We just manage everything, do all the paperwork for the schools, for the club meetings and everything. We don't have a very big school. Our school's only 1,500 students. But in the first meeting, we managed to hit 174 students who showed up. We needed 2 big rooms to house them all. So I just want to thank you for everything you've done, and it's made a big impact in our school.
What's great about what you're hearing here is the opportunity to see that it's more than just gaming. There was an individual who likes gaming. He's attracted to the concept of participating in an esports program, but it's more than that to him. It's about building business skills. It's about leadership. It's about communication. It's about gaining skills in what we call the ecosystem or scholastic esports. So let's dive into that and let's talk a little bit about what is scholastic esports. For those of you who are educators or students or parents, you've heard the term, probably the concept of project-based learning. Basically, it means just hands-on experiential activities where kids engage. And they do things rather than just sitting in a classroom and having a teacher, lecture to them. You hear of things like Lego education, fab labs, robotics, science fairs, tinker, makering. We know through research that these are the most successful methods of getting kids engaged, to get them excited and to give them an opportunity to think about ways in which they can use that passion for their future development. NASEF is really just that. Very simply, when people ask me, what is NASEF? It is project-based learning through the lens of esports in a virtual world. We meet kids where they are, we connect their passion, and without teaching them, but instead having them just have fun and experience, they get to learn and move forward. Like I said, we meet kids where they are, and that's really critical when you want to talk to individuals. And in that conversation, we share with students, do you know that there are over 200 colleges and universities in the United States alone that offer scholarships for esports competition and play? You can actually get a full ride for 4 years to some of these universities and colleges. And it's not just in esports. It's in all of the ancillary pieces of the ecosystem of esports. It's about shoutcasting and streaming and web development and computer science and event management and coaching and a whole sundry of skills and opportunities. Our goal is to not only show and make kids aware of that pathway and these opportunities in college, but also to do it in a way that makes sense for them. I'm going to share here a video for one of our largest school districts in the United States. It is Miami-Dade. This is Dr. Alberto Carvalho. We are in over 50 of his high schools, in 100 middle schools, and I'd like you to hear directly from him as to why it's important from an administrator in an educational system perspective.
Esports is relevant to us because it's relevant to the kids. So if we want to transform the American classroom, if we want to make it both rigorous, relevant, but fun, if we want to excite them about their own learning, then let's bring something to them they understand, they navigate well, that adapts to the way they live, the way they entertain themselves, but let's use it as a powerful tool of education. That's why esports speaks loudly to me, because it speaks loudly to them. For those who are somewhat doubtful about the impact and the benefit, speak with your students. Gauge the level of interest and engagement in a traditional classroom where all you do is rote learning, compared to an environment where students can actually navigate an educational space that integrates STEM and STEAM, integrates new technology alongside the necessary standards. And you'll see that their mindset, the way their brains are wired, is compellingly different than the way our very own were. So if we want to maximize learning, understand the brain of a child, understand the way they think, the way they learn, what captivates them today, how connected they are, and then create environments that, quite frankly, match their own ambitions, and learning will prosper. Parents probably are often concerned about the amount of time that young people are in front of screens, but being engaged from the earlier stage of game development and participation and competition can be productive, can be engaging, can actually boost student achievement. That's why I believe in it. That's why we have it in our school system.
So part of why we're doing this pre-session is so that as you go through this great conference, you're going to have an opportunity to obviously look at gaming and esports for the fun of it. But we also want you to have this different lens, this lens of how can you use what you enjoy doing for purposes of your own future, for learning, for ways in which to define careers and opportunities for yourself. So here's a slide that I'm going to share with you. And when you think about gaming, you think about what it is to sit at a computer or a controller or your cell phone and to play against someone or to play, against the game itself. So our world is a little bit different. You get to do all of that. And again, all of this is 100% free to students and schools and after school and out of school programs all over the world. What we've created is this ecosystem around how do you use gaming and esports to also learn? Because, not everyone is going to be the top 6 competitor on the Overwatch team, or to be able to represent the club in a League of Legends tournament, or whatever competition you're going to be doing. But you really enjoy gaming and esports. And your interests may be fandom art, logo design, streaming or shoutcasting, data analytics, or you may like putting events together, or you may like the idea of creating the web page and doing some merch and selling it and marketing and the like. So we've created this entire curriculum around 4 domains: strategic development, content creation, entrepreneurship, innovation, and organizational development. And we hired, when I was with the foundation, teachers from the University of California and from the Orange County Department of Education to actually build an entire curriculum using gaming and esports, where you can play and learn about all of these skills and actually get credentialed and certified in these various skills. And it's all tied to the standards that exist by one name or another, to Common Core, English Language Arts, Career Tech, CTE, Next Gen Science Standards, the technical standards of ISTE, and the social emotional standards called SEL. So what you get to do in the way we play, in the way we compete, is a little bit different than others. You have the standard competition where kids play and you observe kids play. But in our competitions, everyone is involved. That's why our clubs are 70, 80, up to 170 kids in our clubs, because there's room for everyone. There's the opportunity for everyone to participate. So when we have our competitions, it's not just the players who are being showcased, but everyone shows the artifacts of their learning. So on the side of the room and surrounding the room, the people who created the logos and the fandom art are showing and demonstrating their work. The people who have built the website are showcasing what they built. If there's merchandise and marketing, they're showcasing that too. Those that put together the event management and all the tools and resources they use to do that are also being showcased and demonstrated. So when your parent comes in, or the teacher comes in, or the administrator comes in, instead of just seeing kids playing on a computer and gaming, which sometimes they don't understand, they're actually going to observe learning. They're going to see, wow, I mean, my kid actually goes to this esports club, and look at what they've created. Look at what they've done. Look at what they've learned. Look at the graphic design that they've learned that is marketable to any industry in today's world. That is the unique connection between how NASEF operates in the world and how all the other esport programs operate. Yes, you play, you have fun, you engage, but you also, through that play, get to learn and enjoy. And there's also an entire layer around what we call health and wellness. Because, if you sit down with a child and you say, eat more vegetables, sleep 8 hours a day, don't drink Coca-Cola all day, most kids are not going to listen to that. But if you sit down with a child and a student and you say, if you look at any professional esports team or any team in any sport, their regiment around how they sleep, how they eat, their physical activity, their mental strength and prowess, all contributes to their ability to play better. That's the entry point that we use. So we create this opportunity for students in a very safe and fun and engaging kind of way to examine their choices in their world, their feelings, their relationships, how they behave, how they think, how they work, knowing that the better they are in how they control their own health and wellness, the better they will play and the healthier they will be as a human being. A novel approach for some, but for us it's just natural, and it's easy for students to understand that, if I sleep better, I eat better, I can play better, and I can be better at what I do. That makes sense. And it's all for this purpose. So do you know through esports that you can gain skills in all of these various job opportunities? You can, through esports, work in human resources, in finance, in legal, in education, in entertainment, in media, in technology, in communication. The work and the play that you do through gaming and esports transcends the play and transcends the industry of esports. The skills that you can acquire that I alluded to in that infographic previously on how our curriculum is set up transcends into all of this. So imagine you're in your esports NASEF club. And as part of your play, you're also building out the logos and the web development and all of the sundry of other activities. You now have created a portfolio for yourself that you can use when you go job hunting, when you apply to colleges and the like. And what a great differentiator it is in your application. And also, it skills you up. It gives you the opportunity to say, oh, I could do it. And when they say, well, how do we know? Here it is. This is what I've done. And you can demonstrate the work that you've done. Let me show you, for those that are interested, what does it look like actually in a school?
Esports has to do with a lot of bringing people together through not just competition, but that soul core of just shared passion.
I'm a huge proponent of gaming, especially as a way to reach kids in education. And so when I heard that UC Irvine, in collaboration with Orange County Department of Education, in collaboration with the Samuel Foundation, are having this big esports push a year or two ago, it was a no-brainer for me and for our school here. Because I know, these kids, they're all about gaming, they love it, and it really is a way that we can meet them where they are.
I don't play games fairly often, but when I do, I'm entertained. And the reason I joined the esports class was because of the entrepreneurship also. And it's very different from just a regular class. It gives you an open-mindedness about like new things that are happening in the industry and the world.
Here at Somali Academy, there's 9th through 11th grade where each year has a different specification for esports. So 9th grade with game design, 10th grade with entrepreneurship, and 11th grade marketing. And each class is dedicated to helping teach those kids those specific parts of esports along with English.
The English classes really is about meeting kids where they are.
Oh, my class subject is Esports English. This is a new experience. For a lot of people, they're not very interested in English, and I think this is a fun way to learn about English and at the same time learn about something that you might have taken interest of and that you didn't know about, and I think that's very cool too.
Gaming is beyond what close-minded people think. There's a lot of writing and there's a lot of literature in gaming.
It's a very good way to get students entertained in what you want to teach them. Right here, they're giving us an opportunity to do what we like to do.
So some examples of what we've done in our esports class is that we had to make our own video game, and it was a storyline that happened to us. And for example, mine was getting lost in New York, and we made a video game about that. I'm actually very shy, and I don't collaborate a lot with people and socialize. But this time, it made us all collaborate with each other, and it made us think together and try to be a team. And the same things that they liked, I liked, which is even crazier. And it actually made me want to work and want to finish our storyline.
Our mission here is to serve a diverse population, and some of that diversity includes kids who are well behind academically and motivationally. And we develop these esports classes around the idea of meeting kids where they are. Where when I was in school, I was never taught to collaborate. I was never taught to communicate or think critically, but through the lens of esports and STEM, these kids are gaining those soft skills. It gives them a reason to buy in. But if you can put them in a healthy situation and structure some curriculum around it and watch the teamwork, watch the collaboration, watch the skills start to develop within that young man or young woman, they're going to go, wow. Watch it transform when they get into the world of video games.
Sometimes it's hard to understand what it actually looks like in a classroom, so that gives you an idea to see what it looks like. The one thing that I get most when I show this video to groups is adults saying, God, I wish I had this when I was in high school doing the things that I do. So it really is very relevant to the things that we do. What's interesting, and as I shared earlier, our teachers that we paid to write the curriculum wrote over 1,000 pages of curriculum for all 4 years of high school, all CTE tracks, and all middle school, and got it approved by the Department of Ed in California. We are the only entity, literally, in the entire world that has a Department of Education approved curriculum for all of high school, all of middle school, and all career tech tracks. And this is how it looks. It is broken into modules, into segmented components, where teachers who may not know anything about esports can sprinkle in a little bit of play into the work that they do in their traditional classroom. We color code standards, we call out career pathways and opportunities, and we give the information to the facilitator, teacher, or educator, that which they need to be able to grow and do. Great example. If you're in a traditional web class in high school or a graphic design class, it's candidly a bit boring because you're just building and creating things just to do. There's no real world relevance. Imagine now for a minute that you do the same thing you do, but you build your logos, you build the website, you do the graphic design for your NASEF esports club. It brings it to life. There's real world relevance. The student understands and enjoys, and now they own it and they see it come to life and they can work with it and play with it for as long as they are in the club, in the school, etc. So it's really bringing the life of both the club and the educational experience together. We have also built this for after-school and out-of-school programs. We have done this, for example, with hundreds of YMCAs around the United States, where we have taken this to individuals who are not credentialed teachers, who are just, adults, educators, whatever term you want to use, so that they can look at these lesson plans and adopt it in a matter of 30 minutes and be able to impart play and learning in a way that kids can really enjoy in what they do. Basically, what NASEF does is it builds a culture. It builds a community. It does it through the concept of a club and infusing learning using our curriculum in whatever way works best for the local club. We started out very humbly about 3 years ago in Orange County with 25 schools. And today, we now have over 1,800 schools in all 50 states, in various provinces of Canada. We have multiple state affiliates. We're really growing around the country. We have students all over, and we're just developing each and every day. Why? Because it's fun. Why? Because we have credentialed curriculum. We connect play and learning, and we provide workforce opportunities in ways that kids enjoy the experience of learning and moving forward. So why would you consider this? Why would an educator, a teacher, or a parent say, I want my child to be part of an esports club? Most of the time, they don't think that way. They think about toxicity. They think about addiction to gaming, screen time, all of that. Well, when you approach it with the way NASEF does, through the lens of learning, it's very, very different. And this is what resonates with teachers and educators and parents all the time. We gave a grant to Dr. Steinkuhler, who was the director of OSTP, the Office of Science, Technology, and Policy at the White House under the Obama administration. We gave her a grant for multiple years, 3 years, all the time. And she is at the University of California to assess our approach to connecting learning through the lens of esports. Let's hear from her briefly as to what she thinks.
My name is Constance Steinkuhler. I'm a full professor here in informatics and I study games. My expertise is on social interaction and cognition. My game of choice tends to be player versus player, kind of online games. I'm really interested in all of the social interaction and social sort of collaboration and competition that happens in games and then around the games. And we have a lot of different faculty here who are actually working on game-related topics. The connection between esports and STEM, between esports and academics generally. Gaming is a very cerebral and smart kind of activity. In their game spaces, they're doing like really high-end theory crafting. They're doing data science. It's a ton of delayed gratification. If you're going to get good at any of the games, it takes a lot of work. It takes hours of discipline, of play. And so the idea that they're kind of barren intellectually, it's sort of a foolish idea the moment you pick up a title. It takes screen time and it turns it into activity time. In today's kind of climate, we really underestimate how important it is just to play and to do things because they're interesting and fun. It's actually an important part of development.
Now, when I show that video to educators, administrators, parents, teachers, etc., they are taken back. They start to say, wow, is there really something here? And then what we do is we go ahead and we show them the data. Part of what Dr. Steinkuhler and her research team at UCI did, and by the way, there is no one, literally no one, who has done the kind of research work around the connection of our curriculum and gaming like they have done at the University of California. They are really top-notch researchers. They received IRB approval, Independent Review Board approval. So it's got nothing to do with us. We can't influence it whatsoever. These are their findings. After looking at 3,400 students, 1,700 teachers, coaches, and the like, that there is a direct connection between our approach of connecting learning and play and STEM attributes characteristics, how kids engage in problem solving, data analytics, scientific design, explanation, and reasoning, attendance to structure and regularity, communication. When parents see this, when educators and teachers see this, they go, whoa, there's really something here, isn't there? And yes, because this is evaluated, assessed, and proven by independent evaluators who look at our curriculum and how it influences opportunities for learning. Just look at what it does, not only around science and math, but in particular, the orange bars around social emotional learning, around concepts of self-awareness, around relationship development, decision-making, leadership, communication. All of those skills that you don't teach in school, but you learn through experience. That's a huge piece of what industry, colleges, everyone is looking for an individual to grow and to be able to thrive. And part of what makes our program so successful is that the kids that are benefiting the most are the ones who lack the resources to be able to afford a tutor or pay for robotics or pay for extracurricular activities. Those that are of the lowest socioeconomic strata or may just not have the time, resources, for whatever reason, the capacity to be able to engage. There's a huge lens of equity around how we operate and the inclusiveness of what NASEF does. Our solution is really pretty simple. It's the concept of a club. We all know what clubs are in school. Just think about your NASEF Esports club. We have templates and toolkits to help you get started, to use, to develop, etc. But you elect officers. You build a charter. You create a pledge. You hold meetings. Wow, you even build a business plan. And you take on officer roles and positions so that the standard positions that you see in red are there. But what about the casual gamer who likes stand-up art? Or the person who does social media? Or the person who wants to create the website? Or the person who wants to do the event management, etc. Our structure is such that everyone engages and everyone gets involved. Because you know what? The club's not going to be successful and your competition's not going to be successful if there's not someone analyzing it, if there's not someone marketing it, if there's not someone who's raising funds for it, et cetera, et cetera. So it's really very much this community, this club and opportunity for kids to thrive and grow together and support each other in what they do. We give you templates, all free, around this infographic ecosystem. We give you examples of mission, vision, and values, codes of conduct, all the toolkits, how to build out a competition, what's the curriculum, how do you do social media and marketing, how do you do fundraising, how do you manage events. All of these different things are all provided to the club. So it's not just getting together to play, but you're building basically almost like a business in a community. You're learning skills without having a teacher stand in front of a classroom and tell you what you should be doing and then give you a lesson plan to go home and learn. Do it through experience. Have fun with the way you can learn in what you do. And for those of you who are not the competitive player in Overwatch or League or Rocket League or whatever, we also hold competitions on logo design, on social media, on web development, on all of these other parts of what we call our ecosystem. Because if we want to value learning, we have to give it the same value and importance as the person who's on the computer playing the game. So as I showed earlier, at all of our competitions, you show the artifacts that you're learning. You also have, as part of that, all of these mini competitions around those learning exercises, which is critically important. So it's really about the scholastic piece. And it's gotten to the point where we have educators from around the world who are saying to us, I want to learn more. This is our third year of creating what we call our Scholastic Fellows program, where teachers around the world come through Zoom, through web, and sometimes in person to learn about our curriculum and how to bring it into their school, into the library, into their after-school program, to set up clubs, to play, compete, and learn at the same time. This year's cohort, which started in September, we have 30 educators from around the world from 11 different countries who are part of our work. So how do you start the club? It's really simple. We have this 8-step success component. We have learned this over the last several years on how to do that. Whether you're a student who wants to develop it, a teacher, a parent, whatever it may be, we will walk through this process. You register online. I'll share that with you later on. And we help you identify who's the right adult in the room. How do you ask students, what do you want to play? What do you want to do? What do you want to be? What kind of equipment do you have? How do you educate parents so that they know that it's not just sitting behind a screen at 11 o'clock at night eating Cheetos and drinking Dr. Pepper? It's really about a learning experience and opportunity and communication development, etc. How do you build a club? How do you put it together? How do you hold club meetings? How do you continue that developmental process of having fun, playing, and learning at the same time? This is all what we provide in toolkits, in online learning, 100% free to the student, to the club, to the teacher, to the administrator on how that moves forward. We've really excelled at this. Fortunately, COVID, in a strange way, has been really instrumental for our growth. We have grown over the last several years significantly around the world. Why? Obviously, because there's a need to connect kids to learning and to connect kids to community when they're isolated, but also because there's value. We have research, we have evidence. We give kids an opportunity to enjoy, to learn, and to play at the same time. So for example, in Japan, we now have over 150 schools throughout Japan that are part of what we call NASEF Japan, that participate. So imagine being able to be in whatever community you're in and playing with and talking to and learning from someone in Japan. That's wonderful to do. We also have that in the UK, where we have 100 plus relationships in schools and opportunities in the United Kingdom doing the same thing that we've done in Japan. For those of you who are in the United States and are middle school or high school, you probably have heard of a program called Rube Goldberg. It's that six simple machine, you know, that domino that hits the ping pong ball, that hits the basketball, that goes down a ramp, that is the most complicated way to do a simple task. Well, we took Rube Goldberg last year digitally for the first time because kids couldn't get together. We reached students, thousands of them, in over 20 countries around the world in what they do. I shared with you originally the concept of FarmCraft. We're going to be doing FarmCraft 2 this spring, where we're going to focus a little bit more on things like climate change and agriculture and that bio kind of technology component. You'll be able to learn about coding in the background. You'll work with things like Flipgrid and other opportunities, and you'll work with kids literally throughout the world on what that looks like. As I shared earlier, our first attempt at that last year reached over 40 countries and over 2,000 schools. Imagine what it's like to work with students and play with students in Malaysia, in Egypt, in Israel, in Vietnam, in China, wherever it may be. In fact, our winners last year came from Malaysia. They created a wonderful, wonderful FarmCraft version and were most demonstrative in how they developed it and what they did. So it doesn't matter where you're from, who you are, what you do. The opportunity is there to play and learn at the same time. Most people think of Epic, you know, as a title company, you know, someone that creates various game titles. What we did was something a little bit different. We created an opportunity for kids to have fun, but to learn also about the underlying engine, what's called Unreal Engine, and then to use that to compete, to create a 1-minute public service announcement around Earth Day to make students and adults in communities around the world aware of the challenges that we have in climate change, our Earth, and the like. What a great way to play, to learn, to compete, and also to get scholarships. The winners got up to $2,500 in student scholarships as they pursued this competition. We were, fortunately, and we brag about this a bit, we were selected this year as the #1 esports education solution in North America. Cody, which has been around for many, many years, after looking at a variety of esports solutions everywhere in North America, chose NASEF as the most innovative, creative way for connecting learning and play opportunities for students around the world. We recently were just asked, and I was asked, to take what we've done and bring it all over the world. NASEF and I in person have been asked to chair the World Esports Education Commission through IESF. IESF is one of the most prolific global organizations made up of 108 countries plus growing every day who compete in esports. And how do we infuse in that competition and learning what we do? It's that opportunity that when you're done with school and you've played and you know the life of an esports player is pretty limited, what's next? What happens? Where do you go? What do you do? How can you use your competition and play in a way that gives you a trajectory to a successful future so you can play and learn concurrently at the same time? Give you a great example. We did this in Mexico with the public educational system in the U.S. State Department. And what we did was we created a competition in Minecraft during COVID where students created the COVID-19 virus. They created the COVID home they wanted to live in and the future COVID medical facility they would want to be treated in. How cool is that? We had over 3,000 students from Mexico City alone that participated in this competition. It brought them back into learning during difficult times. It helped them engage with other colleagues. It gave them a purpose for learning, and it was fun. It was a way for them to engage and learn, to learn about the science of COVID, to not be so freaked out by what it is or what it could be or the unknown of it, and to use Minecraft as a vehicle to be able to do that, engage, and learn at the same time. Let's play. Let me show you what it looks like. This is our version in Spanish. So that's what we did in Mexico, and we've done it around the world, and we obviously translate things in all the various languages. Let's take a minute and let's show you what we've done in our work in Japan.
さあ続いては大注目今週のナビゲートありがとうございますさあこのコーナーでは私並木がゲーム業界のトピックスをお伝えしていきます。今回ゲーム好きには夢のようなプロジェクトをナビゲートします。こちらです。NASEF ジャパン国際教育 e スポーツサミット2021。こちらは e スポーツやゲームを教育の中で活用して次世代で活躍する人材の育成をテーマにしたっていうイベントで先日開催されたんです。この NASEF というのはですね、北米の教育 e スポーツ連盟という略称で、例えば北米のカリフォルニア州では主に高校生や中学生に対してただ e スポーツをさせるということだけではなく、学習教育を促進するためのツールとして活用しているんですって。ということで e スポーツの授業によって山里さん、生徒はどんな能力が伸びたと思いますか？
こう戦略とか立てる、そういう、こう判断力とかそういうのじゃないの？
あ、それもあると思うんですけど、
じゃあ違うんじゃん。
こちらなんです。e スポーツ授業でコミュニケーション能力が伸びたということです。
自分の HP がどうなのか、仲間のスキルの状態がどうなのか、敵がどのぐらいの状況なのか、どこにいるのかみたいな、やっぱ随時しっかり適切なコミュニケーションで取るっていうのも本当これが勝ちに直結するので、もうすごく大事ですね。
ゲーム上手い人ってやっぱ頭の回転良かったりとか、あとメンタルがしっかりしてる人多いんですよ。やっぱ普通に社会で学ぼうとしてることがゲーム内でも全然学べるんだよなっていう時代になってるんだと思います。
Our work is really unique. We love sports, we love gaming, we love to play, we love to do all of those kinds of activities. As you can see, it fits within any community, any culture, any of the kind of work where you could actually translate what it is to both play and learn at the same time. How do you start? Go to NASEF. It's very simple. Again, it's free. You go to the toolbar, you click on sign up. It's in transition right now. We're kind of rebuilding some of the website, but it's an opportunity for you as a student, as a parent, as an educator to be able to then pull that curtain back, learn skills, take our curriculum, take all of the things that we can impart for learning and education and connect it to what kids enjoy the most, which is the play and the opportunity to engage with other kids. So thank you. If you want more information, please feel free to email me. We're going to go into a little Q&A in a few minutes, but my email is very simple. It's gerald@nasef.org. And what I'd ask you to do is please register and be part of what will be an awesome opportunity in a few hours. Well, I will be facilitating 7 students in NASEF clubs all around the world who are going to talk about their experience in NASEF, in gaming, what they've learned, what it's been like, and how they enjoy what it is to play and learn at the same time. So with that, I am going to stop sharing. I will go back to the Google Meet. And Nick, it's great to see you and look forward to having a little conversation with you.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm very happy to be here for IGEAS Day 1. And I just want to say, Gerald, that was really, really great. That was an extremely informative presentation. You know, I can completely agree and share those experiences of seeing parents and educators light up when they get the full scope of, you know, where esports is heading and, you know, just how much it can help students get involved and be social. There's actually several things that first come to mind that I want to ask. But first, in terms of the audience, who's going to be most interested in this? It's obviously going to be the students here at IGEAS and the educators. So let's first start with the students. Say that I watched this, or I saw the VOD on YouTube, or I saw this live, and I'm like, yes, this is it, and I'm a student. What's that first step, that first nudge, what's some practical actions I can do to start getting this ball moving, you know, because I'm busy, I have school, who knows what, but I'm really interested in esports. What do you think they should be thinking about?
Well, I mean, from our perspective, you know, we have honed in through experience a whole process on what to do. I alluded in a presentation to what are called the 8 steps of success. Really, all you do is go to nasef.org. You start to peruse the website. You look at it. You click on Get Started. And it's literally step by step by step approach on how you do it. It's really simple. We're actually streamlining it to make it even easier over the next few weeks. So I would say probably, you know, wait till October 15 or so to do that because it'll be really streamlined and easier. And then what that does is it unlocks all of the resources and it queues us up and we will contact you and we'll say, okay, let's go ahead and do an orientation. We don't charge for anything. We will do this for the student, tell them how to get in other students. We'll do it for the educator, the parent, whatever it may be. So it's a really step-by-step turnkey operation now.
And that orientation, I think, is a very important thing to focus on because the type of student leader or just engaged student or, you know, really passionate a gamer, if you are the type that likes to organize a big play group with your friends, or if people seem to, you know, always come over your place and play a bunch of video games, right? Or if you go to LANs, these are the type of skill sets that you're going to hear about a lot throughout IGEAS. You know, it may just seem like something that you do naturally, but that ability to build a community, gather interest, and get people to actually show up. One of the quotes I really loved from your presentation was a UCI professor saying it, gaming can turn a screen time into like active time. And I really love that. That's something that we're seeing more and more of import in the esports industry. So from the student side, I would definitely, I recommend just get started, go to NASEF's website, but really think about, you know, how you can start building the grassroots community. Now, the other side of that coin that I alluded to was the educators. And, you know, for some context, I feel educators have had a very, very hard 2 years, right? Like it's been extremely difficult. You know, like public schooling is an absolute mess, and there's some of the hardest working people out there right now. But with that, there's all sorts of new changes to the landscape. We have private schools becoming more and more of a common option. We have more people homeschooling. I feel as if esports and its ability to be done from the home safely through the internet, you know, that's been able to really let kids play together, sometimes from the safety of classrooms. That's a big win, I think. Do you think that's one of the core practical persuasion points you've seen work, or do you think that there's something else core that gets educators excited about esports? What do you think is the biggest one there?
So I think once you get over the hurdle of the misinformation that sits out there, a lot of people see it as I alluded to and mentioned, this addictive behavior, the toxicity and the like. Granted, that exists. But if you couch it into a safe environment, because all of our work is monitored, managed by credentialed teachers, all of the teachers, everyone who participates, the coaches, all go through fingerprinting and background checks. We ensure, first and foremost, the safety of the student. Once that's done, and you say to the parent, one, your child is safe, and two, we actually have research and curriculum. And instead of your child playing 5, 10, 20 hours a week, what we want to do is moderate that. We want to give the child the opportunity of how to use the experience of what they like in a way that's meaningful. So most of our kids who play probably ultimately 25% or more less than what they did before they joined the NASEF club, because they're involved in the club dynamic. They're building the website. They're building the graphic design. They're selling the merchandise. They're building the logos. They're engaging in competition around all of those things. So the parent and the educator get to see, wow, this is cool. I mean, we have a graphic design teacher from Florida who actually said to us, you brought renewed relevance to my class for the first time in 20 years. I thought
relevance. That's the phrase. That's the phrase.
I thought my class was just stale. Kids weren't enjoying it. I couldn't attract kids to my class. Now in my graphic design class, we're doing everything for the Esports club. Kids are digging it. They're loving it. They see that real world relevance, which is great.
Yeah. And, it's so true. It's so true to life. A reality of, the fear of the more you like video games, the more you play them. But something that all of my esports industry or aspiring esports people know, that like the irony is the more you work in esports, the less you have time to play. That's always been the truth. We joke about that internally constantly. Like it is, by the way, it is like a novel perk that I'm actually entering the Smash tournament that's happening tomorrow at IGEAS. By the way, you can check that out, smash.gg/IGEAS. But like that never happens. I'm only doing this because we worked very hard, I think it's one of the things that why actually IGEAS has 3 tracks is because it is divided into, the 3 core interests that we found. There's the people in business, this sort of networking and community building. We have our esports, a contender track on the 25th. And this is your coach, your competitive type. And then we have the creatives, which is, I'm sure, part of that, a classroom that was now doing so good. I really love renewed relevance. I think we have time for maybe one or two more questions. So I will ask you one that's been on my mind when it comes towards NASEF, and I think just academic esports in general. There seems to be a tension that I've encountered throughout a lot of esports leaders, either in the high school space or beyond, where there's this point in which the students know what type of community and how they want to play, but that's always going to come into, okay, there's always going to be some conflict eventually between, well, it needs to be for, an academic purpose, or we need to try and balance. So I've seen these conflicts arise. What do you think is, what's that olive branch type thing? What's the first thing that a parent or a student or an educator and a student, or even 2 students, how do you, in your experience, come towards solving that and finding a balance and finding, okay, this is an esports thing we can all agree on. It's authentic, but it's also the school needs to follow their rules, things like that.
Sure. So I think that's a great question. And obviously it's dependent at times upon the age and the maturity of the individual. You're not going to have a 13, 14-year-old engaging in, I don't think, the kinds of activities that an adult might participate in. So you have to be age appropriate, number one. But I think what you really need to do is go back to the premise of why NASEF was formed. And that is that whatever you do in life, if it's just the experience of that particular engagement and it's finite and it's static, that's all it is. But if you go ahead and you wrap around it the types of learnings and opportunities that have value and meaning, get back to that original slide I gave on Ikigai, which is how do you help a child?
Like that one, yeah.
How do you help a child find purpose and meaning in life? They find it in a lot of different ways. And that's really what we're doing in how we have built out who we are. The one thing about NASEF that is interesting, different than many others, let me,
Yeah.
one quick second,
Please.
is we're not prescriptive. We don't say you can only do NASEF. We're free. We say, do this. You want to do other things? Feel free, but at least do this.
Yeah.
Learn and use our tools and resources in a way that help you thrive and grow.
It's so important too for the educators. My father was actually an English teacher. Well, he is now something else. But I remember when I was young, that first part of that ikagi, right? That was the joy, like, and the passion. He immediately saw that I had a passion for beating people in video games. And thankfully, he took the time, because he was also a gamer, a hardcore gamer. He understood how to nurture that. So he would drive me around as a teenager to all of the competitive play sessions, all the people. And I was so lucky. I didn't realize back then that that's not a common thing. You don't often get a parent who, is also an educator, who understands that what my son or child is doing as he sits in front of the screen, it's not this mindless thing. He's actually practicing very high level, like frame combos, and he's trying to compete for this tournament so he can win money and then gain some independence and then do something, right? Those are the type of things that he liked, and it's really been good for me. And I think that's something that I can't underscore enough with programs like NASEF, right? Like, there is so much taboo when it comes to video games that is just equipped in the minds of a lot of people, and we can't expect to turn that off. But I think with presentations like this one, Gerald, you're being a fantastic advocate and evangelist, I think, for a lot of the best of esports. So I thank you for that. I think if we have one more question, I think this is a good drop-off point. Gerald, thank you so much for starting us off. Do you have any last words or any last things you want to say before we close out?
I mean, the only thing I would say is if you haven't registered, register. Stay tuned for the session we're doing with students from around the world. I think it's very cool. And you're going to have an opportunity to hear from kids and why NASEF, why esports, and what it means to children and kids to participate in a way that's really meaningful. And then just thanks to, IGEAS and Bank Global for the opportunity to partner and to be able to share really the ultimate value proposition of what esports and gaming can be when you look at it through a lens like NASEF.
Yeah, and to highlight on that, the Confessions of an Esports Student Leader is going to be such a good panel. There's a lot that has to do with the balance of student work, but also just the stress, the fatigue. But there's obviously high points of that, and I'm really glad we're able to put the mic directly in front of the students, because that's very important. And you can sign up for these panels. You can see them live actually throughout all 3 days of IGEAS. Go to inventglobal.com/IGEAS. You can still sign up. Gerald, thank you so much for your time. And my name's Nick Durazio, Director of Corporate Strategy. Signing off for now, but stay tuned. We're going to be back with more IGEAS Day 1 content. See you guys later.
Great. Pleasure. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.